On this example, we want to evaluate each expression using the values given in the table. Let's examine the table first. We're given x and a list of x values. We're given f of x. Remember, f of x is the same thing as y, so we're given a bunch of y values. And we're given g of x, and g of x is the same thing as y, so we're given another set of y values. So one set of y values for f, a different set of y values for g. In part A, we want to find f composed with g of 1. So this operation here is composition, and this operation is where we substitute one function inside of the other function. The function that's before our composition symbol is our outside function, and the one that is after our composition symbol is the inside function. So this is the same thing as f of g of 1. Now, if we focus on the notation that we have inside, we have g of 1. That notation, g of 1, is giving us a value of x. X is equal to 1. And g of 1 is referring to a y value. So we're going to focus on having an x coordinate of 1 and the y value associated with that for the function g. So we know that g of 1 is 0. So we can simplify this now. We know that g of 1 is 0. And then we can focus on the notation f of 0. We know that x is equal to 0, and f of 0 is referring to the y value. So to simplify this, we're going to go on our table where we have an x of 0, and for the function f, find that y value. So f of 0 is -1. And we have our evaluation. F composed with g of 1 is equal to -1. Here we have a few more to do. So let's take a look. So in part B, we want to find f composed with g of -1. This is f of g of -1. And on my x, I have -1, and my y is 0 for the function g. I have f of 0, and here I have an x of 0, and I want to focus on f. F of 0 is -1. Let's try another one. In part C, we have g composed with f of -1. This is g of f of -1. Let's focus on f of -1. F of -1 is -2. G of -2, let's use a different color there. G of -2 is 2. Okay, I'm just taking a look at what I wrote down on this previous example here, and I think I need to correct that. F of 0 is negative 1. Okay, so part D, I want to find G composed with F of 0. This is G of F of 0. I'm going to erase a few of my markings here. Let's find F of 0. So I'm looking where X is 0, and also looking where I have F. So my Y value is negative 1. So now I have G of negative 1 and G of negative 1. Here's where my X is negative 1 and G is this row. So G of negative 1 is 0. Here we have a couple more. Part E, G composed with G of negative 2. This is G of negative 2. So G of negative 2 is right here, an X value of negative 2, and this last row are my Y's for the function G. So G of negative 2 is 2. G of 2 is right here, an X of 2, and my Y's for G. So G of 2 is 2. And let's try our last one, F. F composed with F of negative 1. F composed with F of negative 1 is F of negative 1. So here is F of negative 1. We have the X value of negative 1, and these are all Y values for F. So F of negative 1 is negative 2. And F of negative 2 is going to be right here, negative 4. And so we've got our answer. F composed with F of negative 1 is negative 4. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.